The latest Nanos research poll for CTV News and the Globe and Mail shows the Liberals maintaining their 5 to 6 point lead over the Conservatives.
So here are the numbers, and this is over a 3-day change here. The Liberals up by nearly a point to 43.6% support. The Conservatives down a bit to 37.8%. NDP up slightly to 8.7%, while the Bloc Greens are down. PPC, again, up only slightly.
And when it comes to which leader people want to see as prime minister, Mark Carney is still the front runner here with over 47% support, but he has lost some ground while Pierre Poilievre continues to gain. The Conservative leader is now at over 34% support, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh is down just a bit to 4.4%.
And joining us live this morning with more on the latest polling numbers is Nik Nanos from Nanos Research. Nick, we always look forward to these conversations with you Monday and Friday throughout the campaign. So here we are in the kind of nothing week, and there's not a whole lot happening. I mean, the numbers have they seem to be fairly straight lines when I take a look at your graphs here. So what does that say to you about the electorate and where Canadians are when it comes to their choices in this campaign?
Well, what it shows is that we're in basically kind of a new phase of the campaign. If you remember at the beginning, the Liberals had like an 11-point advantage. Now it's only a 6-point advantage. And to pick up on what Jennifer mentioned, 4, 5, 6 percentage points, Liberals have been ahead. But you know what? There's something when we dig into the regional numbers is really interesting. Like, nationally, the Liberals are ahead. But you know what, Nick and Jennifer, it's East versus West on this. So think of it this way. When we look at the regional breakdowns, the Liberals are ahead comfortably in Atlantic Canada. They're ahead in Quebec. They're ahead in Ontario, right? So in Eastern Canada, it's all about the Liberals. In the West, the prairie provinces, the Conservative heartland, the Conservatives, are ahead by more than 20 percentage points. And BC's a toss-up. So think of it this way. There are folks in the prairies who are like thinking, what's up with Mark Carney? I don't get it. I don't see a lot of support for Mark Carney. And, that probably explains why they're so angry. And, if you're in the wheat, in the East at least, you're probably looking in a different perspective. You're thinking, well, there are a lot of people that are looking at the Liberals and stuff like that. Why are those Conservatives so angry about stuff? And, BC's a toss-up. But I think this speaks to, the polarization that's happening right now, the concentration on the two parties, because all the other parties, the New Democrats, Bloc and Green, are getting crushed. And can I say something that might be controversial? Yeah,
please.
Maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Please go for it. Yeah, throw me under the bus tomorrow. Okay. This could be a lot like the U.S. Do you know what it's like in the U.S. where people don't want to talk about politics?
Yeah.
If people have a particular view, someone else is voting for another party, and it's kind of like, I don't understand how you can even consider voting for that leader, supporting that leader or that party. We may be getting to a place like that where, we have two main parties and that people are divided about those two parties.
Wow, yeah. No, for sure. Definitely evidence of that, though. I mean, even with what we're seeing with the Conservative Party and what we've heard Corey tonight talk about, the Trumpism of Pierre Poilievre and his campaign and how he handles the media. But, Nick, I'm very curious to know, the Liberals started off very strong with that double-digit lead. Now it's 5 to 6 percent. It seems to be pretty stable, but how much do you think they need to kind of gain? Like, how much of a big lead do you need to see in the polls before you kind of say to yourself, all right, this is in the banks for which party is in the lead? I'm curious to know.
Jennifer, it'll be the Friday or the Monday before the vote. Sorry. We'll have to keep tracking things because, we talked about this before. About 2 out of every 10 Canadians say that they're not going to make their final decision until the last 72 hours. And, at 44-38, why don't we just do like fantasy politics? I don't know if it's somebody's fantasy or not, but fantasy politics. So say the Liberals are down 3 points and the Conservatives are up 3 points, then we got an absolute dead heat in popular support. The kicker here for both the Conservatives and the Liberals is that because the Conservative margins in the prairies, right, where they're at like 53%, they've got like more than a 20-point advantage, are so big, they're inefficient at converting into seats. So people will be looking at the polls and going, it's a horse race, it's a horse race, it's a horse race. And then they'll look at the seats and how they convert into seats. And the Liberals will probably, at least in this configuration, win more seats. It's kind of like the last couple elections. If we remember, the Conservatives actually won the popular vote. If we were not a first past the post, if we were just straight proportional, the Conservatives would have formed the government because they had more votes nationally than the Liberals. But the Liberal distribution was much better at converting into seats.
So, Nick, we're a bit tight on time, but what you've just brought up really raises a question that at least some supporters of the Conservative Party are mentioning they come up with the shirts, "Do you believe the polls?" Right? And so because what you've just highlighted there is the regional breakdowns versus the overall national numbers here. As a pollster, when you see, hoodies like that at, major party campaign rallies, et cetera, what does that say to you? How do you respond to that?
Well, first of all, we shouldn't confuse who shows up to a political event. And can I just say something? If you show up to a political event, you're probably not like most voters, because you're probably worried about getting the kids to hockey practice or soccer practice or anything like that. Actually, what it does show, and I think this is actually quite important, is that those rallies, whether they're for the Conservatives or the Liberals, but why don't we talk about the Conservatives, show how motivated the Conservative core is. The thing is, for Conservative voters, they don't like the Liberals. They want the Liberals out of power. They're going to work hard to try to win the next election, and they are highly motivated. For the Liberals, they're more focused on Mark Carney. So think of one campaign driven by the leader and another campaign, the Conservatives, driven and motivated by wanting change and to get the Liberals out of power.
All right. Hey, we didn't mention Donald Trump this time around. Appreciate that, Nick. Nik Nanos, have a good weekend. Next week's debate week, we'll chat with you 3 times just to make sure we're sort of all on the same plane. Good to chat. We'll talk soon.
Thanks so much, Nick.